So we are now here again live and welcome to Muva podcast. We are today, I'm welcoming Andrew Karigan of the Karigan Residential Group. And Andrew, it's a real pleasure to have you on our program as one of the, I'd say probably one of the highest profile high-end real estate agents in Southern California. It's really great to have your feedback, really great to hear from you regarding what is happening in the market, at least in Southern California, what you're seeing, and some feedback for our guests as it relates to their experiences and what they have to prepare for out in the world of real estate these days.
It's a pleasure to join you, Andrew. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, fabulous. So I'll start a little bit, Andrew, we get to a little bit of the start of our program. We go into just some personal questions to try and get an idea of yourself and a little bit of your upbringing. Where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Well, I actually grew up in the Midwest part of the United States in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a suburb called Edina, Minnesota, which is, it's a nice place to grow up, a nice place for families and, very serene and pleasant. What people think of the Midwest. People are very nice. So I grew up there, went to high school there, and decided for college and so on that I would venture further out. And that's when I decided to apply out of state and ended up going to college at University of California, Berkeley.
Okay.
Just for a quick second, I'll tell you that I grew up in a household that with a mother from Athens, Greece, and dad's parents from Greece. And so if you've ever seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding,
yeah,
that's actually my cousin that wrote, starred, and directed that movie. That's just a fun side note.
Really?
My cousin
learn
Mia
something every day. I never knew that.
Oh yeah, how about that? So yeah, she's from Winnipeg in Manitoba, which is the province directly above Minnesota in that, north part of the world. And so yeah, her family there and so if you see that movie, the whole point of it is that was pretty much my upbringing as well. That movie.
Oh, that's amazing. That was a really well-known, that was a very famous movie. I was in Australia at the time of that movie, but I remember it was very popular. It was really popular.
Australia, I'm sure it was very popular in Australia.
Yeah.
I know Nia had traveled down there and did a press tour and so forth. So yeah, quite well known. But yeah, that was just a really fine example of my upbringing. Everything was revolving the Greek community, the Greek church, Greek food, going to Greek school and, going to church and assisting the priest as an altar boy. That was just kind of normal to us. And, Greek weddings and funerals and parties and Greek cookies and all that.
Oh, classic. That's very interesting. So you must have gone, and this is off topic a little bit, I imagine you've made several trips to Greece since your childhood?
When I was younger, my mother, as I say, was born in Athens, and her mother moved back to Greece in, quite a long time ago, and lived in Athens, where she originally came from, and near all her family, right in central Athens. And I went for quite a few summers to Greece, and we would go to Athens and stay, and then we'd always take these little trips to the islands. And so I from a young age, I was able to start really going. And to me, I didn't appreciate it as much because that was just sort of what we did.
Yeah.
Got to the point where I was like, when am I going to go to some other countries? I want to go to other places too. And I did.
Yep.
It kind of took probably a decade of traveling everywhere else. And then I was realizing, wow, Greece is so wonderful. And I wanted to go back and did it as well.
Yeah,
but it was
that's a great spot. I've had some trips there myself. I went to Crete and Heraklion, and I didn't get to go to Athens, but I did do the Greek islands, and they were very special. And I had great Greek friends myself, so it was kind of an interesting. Their culture really very, very well liked in Australia too. So it was really cool to.
A fun culture, great food.
From there, so from Minnesota, you've had this very interesting background with family members in the film industry.
That's another whole segue. Yeah. So coincidentally, my brother-in-law produced one of my cousin's movies well
Yeah.
before my sister even met him.
Oh, really?
It's kind of a small world as
That
well.
is a small world.
Yeah, so
And
she,
it was your,
in fact, you're going to enjoy this. Nia, my cousin Nia, starred in a movie years ago. Before, I think it was before my Big Fat Greek Wedding.
mhm.
It was with Toni Collette. It was one of Toni Collette's first movies.
Oh,
It was
really?
in Vancouver, and they both played women who needed a job, and the only job they could find were to be drag queens. So they had to pretend like they were men who dressed up like women. That was the whole premise of the story. Kind of a little funny story.
Huh.
Um, so they were performing at some drag show club in Vancouver, uh,
Hmm.
and they nobody knew that they were really women. They thought they were men who dressed up like women. It just
Oh,
crazy.
that's classic. And
My
that's your
cousin
sister.
Nick Harris went, and his wife Athena went, and they flew to Vancouver and they played extras in the movie.
Wow. And that was your
My
sister Mia
brother-in-law
that
actually
did that.
produced that movie, but well before he met my sister. So just a funny small world. But
Yeah. But so your sister Mia was there and it was your brother-in-law produced it.
well, my cousin Nia was there. My
Your
cousin
cousin Mia, sorry. Okay.
Wedding starred in the
Yeah.
movie with Toni Collette, and then
Okay.
he happened to be the producer when he owned Spyglass Films.
Okay.
He was the owner of that film company that did it, and yeah, so small world.
What a small world indeed. So, what
Yeah.
made you choose to? You had this very interesting upbringing from the Midwest to a background with Greek background and Greek relatives to film industry background, and then moving to, you said, to UC Berkeley.
Yes, went to University of California, Berkeley in Northern California, and great school, hard school, and I was very honored to get in. The high school I went to in Edina, Minnesota, Edina High School was ranked, at the time, in the top 10 high schools in the United States. So I think
Right.
that probably helped a bit, just to kind of getting into the school, but, grades and working hard. But anyway, it was just good, and went to California. And one thing I realized from having learned Greek as my first language in the house and learning Greek, it was a great base point for picking up other Romance languages. So I was able to pick up Spanish, Italian, French,
Whoa,
Portuguese very easily. They
really?
came along very easily. And
Yeah,
yeah,
you've got a natural track for it. I've had a couple of one friend that has done that very well, but I think that's pretty amazing to be able to have so many languages and you
it
get
is
to
good.
use them all, right?
Well,
Well, I
then,
don't know about Greek as much, but definitely
yeah.
Spanish you'd be using, right?
Oh, Spanish and French. I studied undergrad at Berkeley. I did do the semester abroad in France at the Université de Nice in the south of France, which was great. And then for my MBA, I went to Oxford in the UK for the MBA. And the first part of the program for several months was in England. And then I went to Belgium and finished at Management Center Europe in Brussels, where, of course, they spoke French.
Uh-huh.
So three different countries, which was a great opportunity, and loved it. And that helped me segue into what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, or a lot of my life, and that would be to do international business. And I ended up getting into technology in the early days of technology and became international sales manager in one company, computer company, and then global accounts manager at another computer company. And what did I do? I traveled a lot. I traveled mainly
Wow.
to Scandinavia, to Brazil, to Australia, New Zealand. I did a lot of travel, and for those companies until I fell into real estate. But I
So
don't.
you had a travel bug going with you all the way with this a little bit. There's a little bit of a travel bug having you're going to Berkeley just across from the Midwest and then having your Greek relatives. I'm guessing a bit of a travel bug taking you to Oxford, which would have been a really they're all very be eye-opening experiences, and then getting across to Belgium. You've really had some worldly experiences there and meeting people from such diverse cultures.
Yeah, we
Um,
had people from all over the world there, and it was a great program. And the MBA program was a very international program, and it was a great opportunity. So, and then that just really drew me into the international business world.
mm,
That's a natural segue.
yeah, no, very interesting. So with international business and then doing computing, technology. What were you doing in terms of computing where you were traveling to all these places
I was
specifically?
selling computer hardware and components.
Oh, okay.
It got to the point where it was primarily to the mobile phone industry. Some
Hmm.
accounts were Ericsson in Sweden, Nokia Finland, Motorola Scotland. Those were some of the bigger accounts I had at the time. So we would sell to the manufacturers and the subcontractors of those manufacturers. So they
Mm.
them kind of dispersed throughout Scandinavia. So I was in these very interesting sort of small towns in northern Sweden and in
Mm.
Finland, and it was in Iceland, and it was I went to Estonia, places like
Wow.
that. It was really interesting. It was good.
Yeah, it sure would be, especially the time of year that you were there. Were you in the summertime in Sweden and Finland, or was that
I've been
winter?
all times of year there. I've been in the middle of winter there. I've been in all summer where midnight sun. I kind of got to see it all, so it was great.
Yeah, that's a fabulous experience. And what a
Really.
company would have been a fabulous segue to learning about people and business as well in terms of
Correct.
operations. How did that get you into real estate? How did you fall into real estate from the
Well,
hardware and
yeah,
components of computing?
I sort of, came to Southern California. I was working, and one of the first things I did was my goal to buy myself a property.
Hmm.
So I bought myself a property to live in, and because I knew I wanted to have investments, and I did. And then, as I moved along and did well and tried to do well in my business, I would always put money aside to try to buy another property, and I did. So I was investing myself as an investor. And then I picked up a real estate license, California real estate license, and I also bought some properties in Las Vegas, but mainly in the Newport Beach area, Southern
Hmm.
California. And so I picked up some properties myself. And then one day a friend told me that they had a friend who wanted to sell their home in Orange County and said, well, I told him all about you. And, and as, to sell your house. And I kind of thought, well, I've never even done that. I didn't really work for anybody and I just had my license, but I didn't really. So I went and met these two gentlemen who owned this house. And the first thing they said when I came to the door, I called them and I came to the door. They said, well, just so you know, we've kind of already verbally told somebody else that we're going to list our house with them. And
Huh.
that, having the competitive spirit, I said, well, I still would like to have an opportunity to demonstrate what I'm able to offer you and talk to you and so
Hmm.
forth. And may I see your home? And so they let me in. We did a tour of the home. And I sat and chat with them. And then I said, why don't we take a walk around the neighborhood? We walked around the neighborhood. And I was there a good 2-3 hours and really putting all my energies into it. And I think they picked up on that. And so then
Hmm.
from there, they kind of looked at each other and said, well, they kind of really decided right there on the spot. I think this guy, we want to use him. So I literally
Wow. There and then that day, they
filled out a blank contract. I never even filled one out before, and I filled it out. And I didn't even have a sign. I had to go run to. I had my license on with Prudential at the time, and I had to go pick up a generic sign and tape my name and phone number on the top of the sign, and I stuck the sign out front. And I sold that property at full price, full 6% commission. I found the buyer, sold it in 3 days.
Oh my God.
And it was like one of those I thought, is it beginner's luck or what is it? But I sold it. And that was the bug that bit. I never intended
Yeah.
ever to become a real estate agent or realtor. And I just thought, I could do this. I mean, I think I'd been working in technology and working these strange hours when I
Hmm.
national and you're living in California, everything is sort of like 9 or 10 hours ahead or 9 or 10 hours behind. And I'm
Hmm.
always up at these very odd hours constantly almost every day of the week. And
Hmm.
so I think I was getting a little burnt out
Yep.
and looking for possible change, or I was ready, when this sort of happened, it was like the light bulb went off and I thought, I can do this. Maybe I'll enjoy this. Let me try. And I just went in to Prudential, California Realty, and I said, I'm going to do this. go full time, get the proper signage and the trainings of all the contracts, and let's do it. So I did it and never turned back.
Yeah, that's quite an amazing story. Do you remember, so where in Orange County was this property located?
It was in Costa Mesa, California.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen those guys since. I think
That,
one of them moved to out of state and became a mailman somewhere. What happened to the other one? But I think they broke up. I don't know.
that's an amazing
Yeah.
story.
So anyway, such as it is.
And there's the rush, and now you're doing it and loving it, and you've been loving it ever since and never turned
Yeah.
back.
Been taking the wild ride. It's really been a wild ride. You learn so much, and you learn so much, obviously, that you don't learn in school, and you learn
Hmm.
so much about people and the nuances and their idiosyncrasies and all the things that you really have to learn to gauge and, you know, just work with people. And
Yeah.
yeah, all
And
the
your traveling in the early days would have helped with that, I imagine, a lot. Getting that very diverse travel background and people background, that would have helped with
one
dealing
of
with
the
all the different
what
characters you
yes,
meet.
I'll give you a prime example of that if we have time.
Yeah,
I when in my early days, how did I pick up clients? I would always do open houses, or what do you call them in Australia, show homes. I would do
yeah,
that every single weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, for probably 3 or 4 hours, every day, or every weekend, both days, just to really, because I thought I have to do it, be
yep,
disciplined. Everyone else was going to the beach. I would go do my open houses. And so I would sit there and I put so many signs out. I loved the exposure of my name out there in the neighborhoods. And I would work other people's open houses. I did everything I could to just always make sure I was on the front line, so to speak, every single weekend.
no,
So
that's
I remember specifically I was at a condo, a townhome in Newport Coast. I
mhm,
think, yeah, it was my own listing. And some people walked in the door and they didn't look very friendly. They
yeah,
just are when people are a little friendly, and these
yep,
people are a little bit, they didn't look very approachable. So they came in, and of course, it's my job to connect with people, and I only have a very short time to do so. And I greeted them, and as soon as they said, hello, how are you? Welcome. They spoke, and I detected a Slavic accent, and I was really good at picking up. I could determine pretty much any accent anywhere because I'm working all over the world.
yep,
So I said, oh, where are you from? My typical opening line, where are you from? And I think the husband just looked at me with this very sort of unfriendly face, and he
mhm,
goes, Bulgaria. We are from Bulgaria.
mhm.
And I looked at him and I said, have you been to Varna, Bulgaria? And he looked at me and he said, Varna? How do you know Varna? I said, because Varna is on the Black Sea, and all my relatives from Greece would go there on their cheap summer holiday. That was sort of, instead of south, where they would go north of the border on the Black Sea, and they would be their inexpensive summer holiday. And he goes, you're Greek? I said, like, we're cousins, right? And in
Yeah,
Bulgaria, they're the same religion. They're Eastern Orthodox. I said, yeah. And as soon as he knew that I'd been to Varna, Bulgaria, I'd been to his country, and I was Greek, his cousins. I mean, I like captive audience. I got them. I mean, they
yeah.
completely went from being really unfriendly to not wanting to speak to I got them as a client. I sold them another, not that house, but I sold them something else, I think 2 or 3 months later. So
Yeah, you turned it around. That's pretty
see,
impressive.
so just from having to have been Varna, Bulgaria, that won me a client.
Yeah, that
Never know.
background,
Yeah.
having something in common there is very important.
The common denominator is
Yep.
very important. Yes, always finding a common. And you only, as I say, you only have a short time to figure it out.
Yeah.
20 seconds, 1 minute, just talking. What can you figure out by asking 2 or 3 simple questions and
Mm.
clicking?
So how did you, so there's the start of Andrew Karigan's real estate beginnings. And then you've got Karigan Residential Group, which is part of Douglas Elliman. Can you tell us a little bit how that works, and for the layman that doesn't understand the intricacies of these setups with residential real estate?
Certainly. So, in the early days, I was just an independent realtor.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started to, grow and develop my name and develop business, it got to the point where I wanted to expand a bit and
Mm-hmm.
have work with others within a group that I started. So I incorporated, I became an actual, corporation as Karigan
Mm-hmm.
Residential Inc. and incorporated. So it was just my own firm. And at that point too, I could have gone off and started my own independent brokerage.
Yep.
But I learned from an early days that it's always better, I feel, to be tied into a much bigger organization where you can
Yeah.
capitalize their marketing, their resources.
Mm-hmm.
So the best of both worlds, where I could brand myself. I had my own logo, but then I
Mm-hmm.
dual branding with a much more well-known worldwide brand, Douglas Elliman, based out of New York City and Beverly Hills, tied in with Knight Frank,
Mm-hmm.
residential in London, and just having that. I came from an international background, so it was just great to have again the worldwide capabilities where I could say we sell in 60 countries and 6 continents. I love saying that. I don't a one-man show or a small group of 5 people. I'd
Yeah.
rather have that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it gives people confidence as well, and we're able to, sellers were saying, hey, we can list your property for sale. People in China, people in London, people in South Africa will be seeing this house in Australia because we're able
Yeah.
to market there. We know how to do it.
And with the
So yeah,
sales of your homes these days, have you seen people from all over the globe
oh
buying in
yes.
particularly in Southern California? I'm imagining everything, right?
Well, in particular in Newport Coast, where I live and I say is the core of my business. Not everywhere, but we have the Pelican Hill Resort here, which is
Yep.
quite high end
Yes.
shelf type property, and that has attracted a lot of people from all over the world. A lot of people from Dubai, a lot of people
Yes.
from Europe, and so they've come here and seen what we call the California Riviera.
Yeah.
And wow, I think I don't want to just come here for a week or two. I want to buy a second home here.
Yep.
So I've had people who say, how far are you from Pelican Hill Resort? Can you find me a townhome or a small home that I can use as a vacation home from Dubai or from New York or Connecticut or London or Sydney? And yeah, so it works. And that's what we get a lot of too.
That's a pretty special experience. Very interesting experience that you're having doing all this.
Truly, yeah, truly. It is gratifying.
And so I'm going to ask a little bit for our customers, with our customers that are thinking of moving and thinking about how they prepare to move home and what do it. I guess one of the questions we have, and I'd be interested, you're on that front line. At what point in the sale or the sales cycle do you see your customers or clients making their plans to move or deciding that this is a time we need to start looking around and preparing for our move and looking for the right movers to hire, etc.?
I think that during these sales process, of course, people are already starting to think about um, minimizing what's in their home and decluttering.
Mm-hmm.
And what are they going to do with that stuff? Are they going to keep it with them and take it to their next residence, or are they going to get rid of it? So
Mm-hmm.
that's part of the process. And then what they're going to keep, they might store in their garage or even take a storage unit while they're waiting to sell, because in case they're moving to a bigger home, they'll have room for it. So I think it happens both during the process of selling the home, but for certainly right as we're going into escrow, because obviously then they'll have a limited amount of time before they have to vacate the home. So generally that's 30 to 45 days.
Yep.
Now, they really cannot do a lot logistically until we've removed what are called all contingencies. The home is
Mm-hmm.
we're contingent upon an inspection, an appraisal, nor a loan. And
Mm-hmm.
once those contingencies are removed, there's no more. Nothing is contingent, and the deal is locked in. The 3% deposit of the buyer is locked in. It goes hard, so to speak, and they can now start spending money. They can start
Mm-hmm.
putting the down and whatever they need to do to plan their move.
Yep.
That's
That,
that's generally how it works.
Quite a process. That's very helpful to know about. So, with your selling of the homes that you sell, I know you get to sell them in quite a broad range, and Newport Beach is your backyard, I would say, so to speak. What markets are you selling homes in now? Are they all, it's all within Southern California, or what would you say?
Well,
Would you?
yeah, I would say the majority of the homes I mean, that I actually sell are in, all of them are right now in Southern California. However, I am marketing some properties outside of the Southern California region. I actually have three luxury villas in Greece that I'm
Wow.
right now that are gorgeous. I mean, really stunning properties in
Hmm.
near, not far from Athens. So that, but that's more the exception, not the rule. But what
Yep.
we really sell is Southern California. I currently have, several listings of my own. I have a beautiful, very special listing in La Jolla right now. So out of Orange County in La Jolla,
Hmm.
that's listed at 25 million. And
No kidding.
we have that in escrow. So we are,
Wow, congratulations.
thank you.
So
That's a
this
nice
is a
one.
very interesting, I'm sorry to change and ask a question because a $25 million home, a very high-end home here. Um, can you tell us, usually from what I hear, that these types of properties typically are on the market for a much longer time than your standard, than say even the mid-level homes in the $1 to $5 million range. You would see it usually, I believe, that these homes had been sitting on the market longer. Is that the case, or has that changed a little
Well,
bit?
I'll tell you what, Andrew, this is absolutely the opposite for this home. We did not even put this home on the public market yet.
Wow.
We even had to get it on the MLS just literally through some behind the scenes marketing efforts through our firm
Hmm.
uh, and some word of mouth marketing efforts. We were able to sell it to a very, very prominent cash buyer. Uh,
Wow.
as I say, it never, and just in a matter of, gosh, probably less than 30 days, you know,
Wow.
we were able to secure a buyer. So yeah, and again, that's not always the case. Sometimes it can take some time to find the right buyer for, a little more specialized high-end home. So
Hmm.
maybe we got lucky. We were just tried to be strategic in our
Yep.
market, but we didn't even have the luxury of putting it on the MLS to really expand our marketing capabilities. We sort of, per the seller's request, they asked to keep it off the market due to some privacy preferences. So we did that and avoided having to, you know, go real public with it. And it certainly made the sellers very, very happy too. So
Yeah, that's very impressive. And so
yeah,
it would have been very happy with the sellers getting everything done so quickly.
I think they're quite pleased. Yes.
Yeah. Now, that's such a high price tag there. Do you see many properties in this region? A lot of people outside of Southern California and other parts of the state. Do you see a lot of homes in this price range? That's still very high
Well,
price
yeah.
range.
So I'll tell you about that area. For example, Bill Gates just, within the past few months, bought a $42 million home in Del Mar,
Mm-hmm.
which is the suburb right next to
Mm-hmm.
on the ocean, and I think it was quite a large property for about 42. And then the singer Alicia Keys bought a home in La Jolla. I think it was about 21 million,
Mm-hmm.
probably, I don't know, last year. So you get, Vera Wang, the designer, lives down the street. You get some, people who are wanting to get out of LA. I think especially now they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
seeing out these more beautiful areas that are
Right.
peaceful, gorgeous coastal areas, and getting even beyond the typical LA area. Malibu, everyone thinks of Malibu as like the area people go to when they want to get out, but I think Malibu's gotten a little crazy with
Right.
traffic and maybe some insecurity of being in an urban area. So people are seeking out places like Santa Barbara, Montecito, Carmel, La Jolla, Laguna Beach in Orange County,
Mm-hmm.
places like this, Crystal Cove.
That's fabulous. That's quite amazing.
Mhm.
And
That's interesting.
yeah, it truly is. So The one and last question's been fabulous. We've got a lot. I've got so many questions I can think of right now, but we are going to hopefully do a follow-up with you and ask some others once some of our viewers come back with other questions they'd like to know. But
Yeah.
can you tell us in the recent months, I'm saying, let's say the last 9 months, are there, can you think of any what you might consider the most significant changes you've noticed, specifically as it relates to the sale of homes in California or Southern California, where you
I
are?
would, I would say the most significant change is that obviously that's been the majority of the time that we've had this unfortunate virus that's affected
Yes.
the world. And I would say that quite contrary to everyone's thoughts of what things were going to be, just the opposite happened. I think the coronavirus was probably the best advertisement for the National Association of Realtors that they've seen in a long time. It
Hmm.
put such a emphasis on harboring in the home and the emphasis of the home and living in
Oh, yes.
an environment that all of a sudden, and I think people being stuck in their home and just sort of being online, and I think all of a sudden everyone's focused on homes and
Right.
wanting a nice home. And then if they're not happy where they are or feeling somewhat insecure due to the pandemic or due to the rioting or whatever has been going on,
Yes.
have wanted to move and seek out nicer homes. And one of the reasons the pandemic has also caused a lot of people to not want to sell because they don't want to move. So those that do, there's been less inventory, and it's caused the market prices to go up
Oh, wow.
in demand. So less supply, more demand, and prices go up. So I think that's been probably one of the most significant changes I've seen over the past, 8, 9 months.
Incredible. Andrew, there's so much here. This has been a real eye-opener for myself, and I believe it's going to be an eye-opener for all our listeners with what is happening in Southern California, your background, how you ended up where you are.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for coming on our program today. Please subscribe to our podcast. Find us on Instagram at Muva Inc. That's MUVAINC. You can also reach out to Andrew Karigan at kariganresidential.com. That's KARIGAN residential.com. Until then, thanks for tuning in and see you next time.